Good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you're watching this. One of our customers, lovely chap, has got a bit of a damp problem, and he's had someone come out that said he's got rising damp. So he's asked us to have a look at it, so we shall. So this is a copy of our client's report. I'm hiding the contractor's details because, well, dobbing them in isn't what we're here for. So it's quite a detailed report. It is 15 pages long. Just a few things that we noticed before we've gone out to the property. First is that they diagnose rising damp. There we go. Overcome problems of rising damp, blah, 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 blah. And then we go on to a few other bits and pieces where my tabs are. We've got some photos where the chap's put pin probes in the wall, and he's quite high readings on those pin probes, so that's cause for alarm. So we need to look at that. What else have we got? A quote for rising damp remedial works. So this is going to cost our client £3,250 plus VAT. Hang on, I've got a calculator here. My maths isn't that good. 3,250 times 1.2. £3,900. And on the final detail page, we're going to do a chemical damp proof course all the way through there and replastering. There's also got 2 vertical damp proof courses going in, so we'll have a look at that as well. So let's get to the property and have a look. Looking at a damp issue, low level, just in this location here. And someone at some point has come along, stuck pin probes in the wall, and it's revealed high levels of damp. And the other side of the wall, where the utility is, similar kind of issue. So let's get the pin probes out, and we'll just start some general scoping about first of all. So let's get this turned on. And pinless moisture meter. Oh. Okay, generally relatively dry, not too bad. Elevated, and then really quite high. So let's stick our pin probes in, see what kind of readings we get from those. Elevated, again, elevated and really quite high. And there's quite low. The most accurate readings we'll get on these is when it's low, because there's no conductivity at all. This pipe work has been tested, so and it's all leak free. But just as a little demonstrator here, this picks up electrical conductivity. So if we put it on something that's conductive, it immediately comes up 100%. But I don't think that pipe's wet. So let's wander around to the other side, do a similar kind of thing. Oh. So on the pinless moisture meter, an area we know to be relatively dry. There we go. Get down into this problem area here, and it's coming up very high. Again, really quite high, and on that side wall, again, really quite high. So we'll pop the pin probe on this too. Yeah, I'll do it. I think if that's won't help matters, then it should be the week after, should be fine. Dryish area, yeah, not even picking up anything. And then down here where we've got all this wet, and on the side wall, someone's actually done a bit of a repair there. That's actually not too bad. Okay, so that's step one, just having a general scope about all that. Okay, so next thing we're going to look at is thermal imaging using this HTI HT-H8 thermal imaging camera. Just looking at it generally at the wall, we can pick up the gap there actually, and then the pipes, and we can see there's maybe a cooler area in the middle. So I'll get a picture of that, and yes, we'll store that picture. I'll get a picture of that, and we'll store that picture. Again, other side of the wall, So we definitely got a colder patch there.
Well, just no, just on there. That was the patch where we had the problem. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and that was the, you know this.
Okay, so next step is to take some hygrometer readings. This is the air temperature. It's starting to just settle slightly. Obviously, the longer we can leave it, the better. But relative humidity is around 65% and falling at the moment. But as I said before, what this means is our temperature is 16.9 degrees. Relative humidity is the humidity at, in this case now, 17 degrees. So at 17 degrees, our air can hold 62.8% of the maximum moisture it can hold at 17.1. Our actual moisture content is 8.97. So that's not going to change too much. But we'll drill into the wall and we'll see what readings we get in the wall. Pop this little seal on it, which seals the seals around the opening. Do a high one.
Again,
I'll do it in a couple of places, yeah. Okay, so readings at high level, we've got at 19.8 degrees, it's holding 51.3% of its maximum moisture content. But down here, it's only 7.38 grams per kilogram of air, which we consider to be dry. But as you can see, that's up a little bit at high level, away from where we've got our issue. So we'll now do the same at low level. Stop that. Drill down to where we've recorded damp. Capture as much as I can for our carbide, and then we'll get the damp probe in there as well. Okay, so let's just check before I stop drilling. I'm going to check. Check we've got enough dust for a start, so I need a 6 gram sample. Almost halfway there. What's coming out looks to be very dry and powdery, but the test will confirm it's 7 grams. That's plenty. So I'll get the hygrometer in there so we can see what that's recording. Oh, come on. I think the batteries might be getting a bit low in this. Okay. So let's get our 6 grams in there. 6.6. 6.4. 6.2. 6.1. Okay, pop that into our chamber. Pop our couple of balls in there as well, still pulverizing balls. And we'll do some scoops of carbide, which go in the lid, because the carbide reacts with the water that's in the sample, and produces acetylene gas. And what that does is, if that starts its reaction too soon, we'll lose gas and we'll get a false low. So we've got the sample in there, carbide in there. Get those in there separate. Make sure that's done up. Lid on the carbide. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that because this is the smaller chamber to the one we've done before. We'll get everything down in the lid, and so that starts to react. But we'll flick over and we can see at similar temperature, now we're up to 10.7 grams per kilogram. So it is slightly damper at the bottom for whatever reason, but our carbide test is going to give that as an absolute definitive. So after 10 minutes, we can see our moisture content is 2%. It's a clay brick. I would consider that to be dry. And then if we look at our actual sample, again, actually you can see it's quite dry. So we'll now do the same on the other side of the wall. Okay, so now we're the same on the other side of the wall. So let's go where it's at its worst. Just keep that for a moment. I'll weigh that in a second. Let's just weigh it now. Okay, scales are zeroed. Oh, I'm only halfway there again. 5.9, a fraction more. There we go, 6 grams. Lovely. Right, let's get that in the wall. Taking a reading while we're doing this. Why? Because 3 scoops of that equals 6 grams of sample. So it has to be exactly. So we put our sample in the chamber, and that as it went in looked absolutely bone dry again. Some crushing balls, and we've got to keep that separate. So, because if we put the calcium carbide in with that, it will start reacting straight away with any moisture. Then it's not pressurizing the chamber because the pressure's coming out. So should be normally 2 scoops of this, but because it's come as rock form, there's loads of air gaps, so I'll do 3. Some of these are quite big. Can't do 2.5. And then once you take that, once it's pressurized and you take the pressure off, you hear as you release the pressure, and it absolutely stinks. So we'll get that in there separate to that. Yeah, I'm nice and tight. At the moment it's 0. Okay, and then we leave it. And it's only a little, we've got 2 chambers. One's got a big bulb in the middle, so we can leave that flat because it'll settle in there. But because this one hasn't, you've got to leave it that way up.
I was wondering why you left it. I was on the minute ago.
So
it's all going to come out.
Yeah, so everything's.
That's exactly the same process that you used in there.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're just again measuring the amount of dampness in the brick itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll send you I'll do a YouTube video on this. I'll send you the link to it because it is. I find it interesting because it's.
I was only taking a minute.
Okay, see that there, same wall, is actually reading quite high. It's 83% relative humidity at 21 degrees. So at 21 degrees, it's going to hold a lot more air. The air will hold a lot more moisture than it would at 11 or 12 degrees. So 88 at 21 is quite high. But our grams per kilogram at 13.4 is also quite high. So it's interesting. So I'm expecting a slightly higher reading this time. So we'll see. Okay, after 20 minutes, slightly elevated. But I'll come back to reason why, because it's the same wall, the other side was getting 2%. Okay. So because the acetylene gas has produced a pressure, when we undo it, there you go, you can see the relief of the pressure buildup. Back from the property now. So we'll do we'll have a bit more of a look through this report that's been provided. So page 1, lots of information there showing how good they are, all what they've done. Member of lots of associations, approved installers of lots of chemicals and bits and pieces, and members of all these trade organisations. So it implies that they're very good and they know what they're doing. So Stephen undertook the survey. Don't know who Stephen is. He's got a degree. Not sure what the degree's in. And I don't know honestly what CSRT is. But I think that's probably fairly irrelevant. The inspection was limited to a visual examination and backed up by non-destructive testing with electrical conductivity type meter, Protimeter Survey Master Professional. Our client didn't ask for a visual examination. He asked to find out what the issues were and what needed to be done. So this chap has chosen to just stick a pin probe in a wall and then diagnose, was it £3,900 worth of work on the basis of that? I don't think that's acceptable myself. If it's a bit like a doctor saying, yeah, I can see that you've got something wrong with you. We're going to need to take you down, do it privately, and it's going to cost X thousands of pounds. You'd want further tests. You would want to know exactly what's going on. So we move on to the next couple of pages is lots and lots of waffle. Lots of words without saying much, really. So it goes on to external defects can lead to this, could do this, possibly that. Observations, it tells you about the search mode of the damp meter and what the different readings mean. And it goes on to use this term %WME, which is percent wood moisture equivalent. And that is generally considered to be that if a piece of wood was fitted to that damp area of brickwork for a prolonged period of time, that's the moisture content it would eventually read. So we carry on, we move through, and again it references BRE Digest 245. Well, BRE Digest 245 says that you should use more than one method of determining or recording damp readings, not just be reliant on one. It also says in literally one of the first paragraphs that damp proof courses rarely fail. So it's a bit interesting that this one concluded that it has. We go on to, basically this is all geared around recommending a chemical damp proof course, but briefly I showed you some photos, so let's look at these in a bit more detail. This photo here, I'm not sure I'll say it's quite clear, to me it's quite clear, but all the way around here, this is all salts on the wall, and he's got a high reading there of 44.5. Salt is highly conductive, and I mean highly conductive. So it's hardly surprising that you're going to get a high reading if you stick a pin probe directly into salt. And again here we've got another reading there of 40.7. Again, there's salts on that bit of wall. So it's unsurprising that we've got high readings. So unsurprisingly, we come to our quote section of the report. £3,250 plus VAT, so I think we established that was £3,900. And what are they going to do for that? They're going to provide protection, they're going to remove the wall plaster, they're going to insert a chemical damp proof course, they're going to re-render the walls using RD's plastering specification, and they're going to skim finish it. If they find out there's more plastering to be done, then we've got some rates there for additional work. It's 20-year guarantee, but only 10 years is insurance backed, so I'm not entirely sure why they're offering a 20-year guarantee, because this company may not exist in 5 years time. Therefore we're down to our 10-year insurance backed guarantee. I might do a bit more of a video on these guarantees later, but the guarantee is for the product, not the manner in which it's been installed. And here's a picture of the rear of the property. Actually, it's inside. There's a utility room here. We come through the front door here, staircase. And so why you put a vertical damp proof course on an internal wall, I do not know. And likewise one on the door liner, and lots of replastering to be done. So the rest of it then is just general waffle and a few other bits. It does actually refer to a British standard, which is really quite interesting, because that British standard then goes on to state that in examining a property for rising damp, you should consider all other areas of damp sources of moisture or sources of dampness, and this doesn't do that once. So it's contradictory with the own regulations and British standards that it's referring to. And then finally we got our terms of contract in the back of the document. So a bit poor quality. It's 2024. People are still wanting to do chemical injections on damp proof courses. I don't think that's acceptable, but hey, that's only my view. Make of it what you will. What we've established on this job is that the wall hadn't fully dried out before new plastering was applied to the wall. And the contractor said, look, I think we've just plastered it a bit too quick. So as the wall's dried out, it's just pulled some salts with it. And with the salts comes a bit of a vicious circle. So once you get salt in a wall, it's hygroscopic, so it attracts moisture from the air. As it attracts moisture from the air, it pulls that into the render, which makes it more wet, which can pull out more salt. So you've got more hygroscopicity, whatever you want to call it, working there, which pulls in more moisture from the air, which creates what looks like a bigger damp problem than you've actually got. So it's a fairly basic fix. The contractor is going to take a small area of render off, dry it out and re-render it. It won't be a problem at all. Most definitely doesn't need a chemical damp proof course. And as we saw on the Carbide readings, although one side of the wall was slightly elevated, the other side of the wall was absolutely bone dry, yet they want a chemical damp proof course the whole way through. So I hope that's provided a bit of entertainment, bit of fun, bit of knowledge. In this particular circumstance, chemical damp proof course was completely inappropriate, absolutely not required. And well, we're all different, but I've been chartered 22 years, and I've been working in the industry for 2002 I was chartered, working in the industry since about 93, so 9 years before that. And in my early days, we did some care and repair work where the council just wanted to chemically inject all over the place. But other than those early day stuff, when you don't really know and you're young and you're just impressionable, I've never chemically injected a property in my life. We've always found what the reason for the damp is, and we've dealt with the reason. I'm going to do some more videos on rising damp or apparent rising damp, because it is interesting. And we'll also look at how damp meters work, because they are incredibly good machines. They're really good bits of kit, but only if you use them properly. And sticking a pin probe into salt, it's just going to give you a high. But then you've got the report that just looks really impressive. It's very well set out, very professional. And for the layperson, they're going to read that thinking, oh my God, I've got to do all this work. And it's just cost them £4,000 or £3,900. Okay, so thank you for getting this far once again. I really appreciate it. If you would like to click and like and subscribe, that'd be bloody marvellous. It does help us out with something to do with the algorithms or whatever. And I shall see you on the next one. Thank you very much.